All right, listen up, Spuds. This is Zap Brannigan, master of time, space, and everything else in between. And, winner of this year's Modesty Award. You're listening to You Suck. What's the difference with Al and Tom? Your one stop for this sort of thing.
Hey guys, welcome to What's the Difference podcast, Halloween Spooktacular. I'm your very nice. I'm your host, Tom Bruno.
I'm David Raby.
Ah, yes, you hear the dulcet tones that are not the British gentleman that I seduced into the dark side of recording. It's the
sorry to disappoint, kids.
No way. It's never a disappointment when we have you on the show, sir. It's always a great fucking feat and a good time too. Look at that. Look at the way you pour that bottle. So sophisticated.
This is a handle of wild turkey, man. Fucking love this
Jesus
shit.
Christ. I'm drunk looking at it. All right, guys. So if you know anything about me, I love a good book. I love a good book, something fierce. And it is the month of October. And let me take you in the way back machine, way back to last year. I was listening to horror books about horror, clearly. And when I was trying to dodge the infinite list of Chuck Tingle books, I found a very interesting book called Taking Shape. And the premise was thus: it is essentially going over the entire history of the Halloween franchise, the pitfalls, the rise to the tops, the movies that never got made, and explanations and interviews with it. It was so incredibly in depth. It's like if I could have gotten a PhD in Halloween after reading this book, I would have gotten it. And I would have lorded it over everyone and be like, look at my fucking doctorate, bitches. But I didn't get a PhD, but I enjoyed the fuck out of the book. So because I enjoyed the fuck out of the book, the next thing I stumbled across was by the same authors. It was a book called Slash the Titans. And when back in like 2005 or something like that, I was at the drive-ins seeing Freddy vs. Jason. I waited for a cut to get there because it was late coming from New York, so we had to watch The Ring 2 first, and just to wait for Freddy vs. Jason to get there. I love those franchises, so of course the two meeting up together and having a brawl is something I was very, very interested in. And so a book talking about everything about, and I was like, oh wow, it's gotta be like an hour-long book. It's like 20 hours long or some shit. It's a very long book because there's such a rich history to this idea, this concept of two titans of horror fighting that I had no idea about. So once again, listen to the entire thing, love the fucking thing. Never thought in a million years I'd have one of the authors here, but hey, this is the way that the cookie crumbles, guys. So let's all give a warm welcome to one of the authors of these books, including Taking Shapes 2, Mr. Dustin McNeill. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, guys. It's great to be here.
Now, I gotta ask, like, are you just horror born? Like, I mean, clearly you got the guy from Trick or Treat, you got Frankenstein behind you, Michael Myers mask. You must love yourself some horror.
Yeah, I do. You know, but you also caught me in October, and in my household in October, we do it right. Every room has some kind of representation for the holiday, which is also not that different from year round, but we really go big in October.
So you don't leave Frankenstein up there during like Christmas, so like you're decorating.
Just put a little hat on him.
Yeah. It's Christmas time, dude. You could do like Kevin McAllister from Home Alone and like make him dance. So when burglars try to break in your house, fucking like, don't go in there. There's a guy dance near the window.
We just got Frankenstein, and I haven't yet figured out how I'm going to talk my wife into leaving him up for Christmas. Maybe it's a Santa hat. I don't know.
Santa hat, little robe.
Be like, honey, I'm really into cuck porn right now, and this is the easiest way I can have somebody watch us fuck without it being weird. He's just a dead guy. Come on,
get him a bag with body parts. He's like, oh, I brought more body parts to make a Frankenwife.
Oh my god. Oh my god, what a weird concept, by the way. If you think about like Frankenstein, it's all about like, let's just take a bunch of dead bodies and sew them together and shock.
It's going to be the Boris Karloff Christmas special of Frankenstein.
Amazing. So were you a giant Halloween fan? I'd imagine you got to be. You wrote a fucking book.
Yeah. You know, huge Halloween fan. And you know, I would have loved to have written that as my first book, but you got to have some balls to come out of the gate with a book on like such a top shelf franchise. I didn't.
Right.
I had to build up to it. So I wrote 3 or 4 books first, and then I said, okay, I've got the confidence. I can do Halloween now, and it was my 4th and 5th book.
Really? What were the books before that? Because I only saw those on Audible. I only saw the 2 Taking Shapes and Freddy vs. Jason / the Titans.
My first book was Phantasm Exhumed, which is all about the Phantasm franchise. I had a second Phantasm book as well, and those turned out pretty well. I mean, they kind of launched my modest little career, and then I did, like you mentioned, Slash of the Titans. Yes. Which is all about Freddy and Jason. And then I did a book, which I don't have with me, on the Jaws ride that used to be in Universal Orlando. That's no longer there, but it was there for 20 years. And so I did the Jaws ride book.
Oh, thank God.
And I was 4 books later, I was finally ready to do Taking Shape and talk about Halloween.
I now need to read all the rest of those books. They are so well written, man. Like, I mean, like I really felt like I actually learned. I love the amount, especially in Slash the Titans, because I love Freddy Krueger. When I was like 11 years old, I got the VHS box set. Like I grew up on Freddy. He's my man. And of course, loving horror as much as I did, I think every kid loves horror in some form or fashion. Like whether they can handle the scarier or the scarier stuff, or they just watch like a Poltergeist. Every kid likes it. So, no, you.
I mean, that's kind of my question. Is like, Dustin, like, what were like some of your youngest memories of Halloween? What was it that drew you to like Halloween and the horror genre, really?
So I started off on the Universal Monster Classics. Like in the very early 90s, I did all of those, and I was so addicted to it. Like I was going to school and asking my friends, like, "Do you watch Frankenstein?" And they're like, "Yeah, we watch Frankenstein." And I'm like, it's like 7-year-old me going, "Well, do you like Karloff or Chaney or Strange? Like, who do you like?" And they're like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Well, you don't know who these guys are?" Like I was that weird kid. And then, from the Universal Monsters, I graduated into Hammer, which was color and a little bloodier. And then eventually one day I got into Halloween just before my teenage years. I watched it during the daytime with lights on, the windows, and it's still in
the whole family was there. I couldn't be alone.
It still scared me. It didn't matter. It didn't matter that it was daytime and I wasn't alone. I was terrified. It was so scary.
Well, it's really well done. Like that era of horror is just something to be like beholden. When I was really young, I saw Dawn of the Dead. Like I didn't see Night of the Living Dead first. I saw Dawn of the Dead first, and because the practical effects in the movie and Tom Savini's love of his craft, like I ended up loving so much in that film. So I had so much love for that film that I bought the special edition like 30-year anniversary box set, which had like 20 hours of Tom Savini makeup, him just sitting in that fucking mall, just makeup after makeup, and I loved it so much. So I started doing like practical shitty makeup just because how much I love that fucking movie. I think everybody has that movie, right? Like that really kind of like draws out the next like 10-20 years of your life and what you're going to accept as proper horror. For you, Halloween. For me, what was yours, David?
Like the movies that set the standard for you, what you expect out of yeah, for sure. I think for me that one would be like Evil Dead. I think I saw that when I was like 10 or 11 years old.
Whoa.
So my childhood was just like everybody else's, except I had like 2 really good friends. And my friend Danny had his older brother Carlos, and he was the one who was always like telling us, okay, we're on our way to Blockbuster for the weekend, going to go rent a movie. He's like, okay, go get this one, go get this one, go get this one. Like, he was always recommending us shit to watch. So stuff like The Thing, we also saw that when we were like 10 or 11 years old. So that was just, a mind fuck. So it's like, I'm so desensitized now watching that shit growing up. It's like, come on, like watch stuff now. I'm like, come on, is this really? I'm like,
What's better? What's better though? Evil Dead 1 or Evil Dead 2?
How dare you ask us to pick? How dare you?
Yeah. Well, because they're 2 totally different films, right? Two's kind of like what fits in the movies at, like, because you see Evil Dead 1 and you come to expect something. It's a horror film. It's a great horror film. It's an amazing indie horror film. But then you see Evil Dead 2 and it kind of sets the tone for everything else that's to follow from that fucking movie. And they're both amazing on their own respects. But I would go with Evil Dead 2 being because it's just more fun. It's a more fun horror movie.
I got to go with
really
the first
is.
one. Yeah,
Really?
Yeah, I'll go with the first one.
Ballsy choice.
Yeah, no.
So you write books about horror movies. I mean, clearly you love horror movies, and that's why you do it. But I mean, like, what did you always want to be a writer? What kind of pointed you in the direction of doing the extensive
My
history
next
of
question.
these movies? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I didn't always want to be a writer. It was, it was like, I guess like 15 years ago or so, I was like a big Phantasm nerd. I still am a big Phantasm nerd, but I was then too. I had a fan website, which I still have. And I was, wanting to document Phantasm. And I realized I befriended a lot of the cast and crew. I became really close with like Angus Scrimm and Michael Baldwin and the actors. And talking to them, I just kind of realized this franchise desperately needs a book, like a big ass, detailed, thick 200 photo book. And I spent the next 4 to 5 years figuring out how to write and create and do that. And eventually it came out in 2014, Phantasm Exhumed. And I got to say, for a first time author, I was really proud of how it turned out. Angus Scrimm, the tall man, wrote the introduction. I got over 60 interviews. I mean, I'm very fond of how the support it got and how it turned out. And it was pretty well received too. And so based on that success, I said, okay, well, let me try and what else can I write about? And that's when I was like, everyone seems to crap on Freddy versus Jason. I just think it's fun. I just think it's fun. It's just
Right.
fun. It's not great. It's fun. And so I said, let me write a book about that. And I'm moving on up slowly.
And it's got Catherine Isabelle in it. I mean, come on, that's just top notch. Oh my god! Like I saw Ginger Snaps when I was in high school, and one of my teachers, he was a really good guy. He was friends with Flyboy from Dawn of the Dead. Like he was friends with Dave Emge. It was such a weird thing. And he owned a comic book shop, and he was like, I told him how much I love werewolf movies. I'm like, oh, Dog Soldiers is fucking like one of the greatest films of all time, And he's like, oh, you ever seen Ginger Snaps? And it was a really weird film to like recommend. I mean, it's a great Canadian horror film, but it's all about girls kind of going into womanhood. And I'm like, I'm a fucking boy. I can't relate to this until you see Catherine Isabelle turn to werewolf. You're like, oh, I understand everything. I love this movie. Tell me more, werewolf lady.
Speaking of werewolves, I just totally remembered the dream that I had last night. It was about Silver Bullet.
Oh yeah,
I'm
You
so
guys remember
sorry.
that movie?
Yeah, I like.
Yeah, no. And crazy Gary Busey was in my dream too. I'm like, fuck, what the hell?
Is he talking to you or something? Your Uncle Gary.
No, it was just weird, man. Like,
Don't ride
yeah,
the
like it's
motorcycle,
all
Uncle Gary.
just stay still. You're going to bed.
So I like to think of myself as a giant horror nerd. Like I tend to know some things, when I go in a room, like, I'll be like, oh, how many pints of blood got dumped on the Carrie, blah, blah, blah. But like, I thought I was a Freddy Krueger nerd until I read Slash of the Titans. How the fuck did you stumble upon like the wealth of history behind that? I mean, like, because to anyone it goes, okay, Jason goes to hell. The hand goes up. He takes down Freddy's mask or Jason's mask, and then bam, that's what kicks off the concept of Freddy versus Jason. And then eventually a movie comes out. Like, but there was so much more to it than that. How did you stumble upon that well?
So Slash of the Titans it's not your usual movie making book. It's not about the effects. It's not about the actors. It's not about the music or the cinematography. It's actually about the development of Freddy versus Jason, because they spent over a decade trying to get it right. And they went through 17 screenwriters to get the final script. And so Slash of the Titans has 10 chapters, and each one looks at a different version they officially considered, like that New Line Cinema paid for and was like developing and doing. And not only is there 10 different versions of the script, and I mean really different versions, but I was somehow able to get most of the screenwriters involved and Robert Englund to talk about it, to like really candidly just talk about what they were planning and why it went wrong and what it was like. And I was just, it's still fascinating to me. It's like what if, that Marvel TV show that just came out, it's like what could have been.
Yeah.
And that's what Slash of the Titans is all about. Because if you hated the Freddy versus Jason we got, wait till you see what we could have gotten.
But some of them weren't bad. Some of them were really
no, they weren't.
Oh, like David, there was a couple in there. Like there was about like a Freddy cult, and there were so many different concepts. I was like, wow, that would have been a really great fucking movie. Why didn't they do that? Why didn't they see the potential out of all the developmental deals they had? Which one do you think had the most potential, Dustin?
That's so hard to answer because I'm actually a fan of just about every script in the book. Like I'm so easy as a fan to please. Like I love different versions. But the one you just talked about was the first script they considered by a writer named Louis Abernathy.
Mm.
This guy was crazy fascinating to talk to. And let me tell you why. He was a cast member in Titanic.
What?
He was the big bearded guy on the research vessel that takes the old lady out to sea. Like he had dialogue. Yeah. So that's him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He was also, and this is documented. Like you can go and look this up in books. It's true. He was one of the inspirations for the dude in The Big Lebowski.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. He's a weapons expert. He's a special effects dude. He's a screenwriter. He's a deep sea oceanographer. Like the most interesting man. Move over the Dos Equis guy because this is the most interesting. He wrote a Freddy versus Jason screenplay. He's the most interesting man in the world.
But that is a lot to cover, man. Holy shit.
Yeah. So it's
like our Ernest Hemingway.
All the screenwriters, right?
That's fucking.
But I'm sorry, I have to dodge the question because picking my favorite, it's whichever one I read last. That's my favorite.
Excellent answer. There's always, of course, favorites in the Halloween franchise. Like I tend to like them all. I take them as is, and they're just they're fine for what they are. Which Halloween movie do you feel really gets a bad rap, and why?
The easy answer is Halloween 3. So I'm not going to say Halloween 3, but I love Halloween 3. The answer I'm going to give is the one that I take the most crap for, but I'll defend it till I die. Halloween H2O. I know it's like Scream. It was just, maybe it was my first Halloween on the big screen. It was the first one I got to experience that way. It is so special to me. And to bring Jamie Lee Curtis back was such an amazing thing. Like at the time, it was an event.
Okay, the only reason I don't like the new Halloween movies, and I do like the new Halloween movies, so it's really like a double-sided sword. I love Halloween Kills. I love the last Halloween. I thought they were very, very good. I love bringing Jamie Lee Curtis back, and I like making her a strong female character again. But the fact is that H2O already made her an incredibly strong character. Like they really kind of like ruined it with the movie that came after it, because that scene, I watch it every Halloween. Like I'll be watching it tomorrow night. That'll be my viewing pleasure. When she busts open the case for the axe and she's fucking had enough, man. She starts screaming Michael's name, dude, because all this time she's been running and cowering and trying to be as quiet as a mouse, trying to escape from the boogeyman. Now she's like, nope, had it. You're taking everything. You're not taking him too. And she starts calling. I'm getting goosebumps right now. It's fucking dope.
People clapped in my theater. People were clapping when that happened. And just before it, I was really confused because she sent John and Molly away to get help, and she closes the gates to the school and she smashes the control panel with a rock, and I'm like, why would you do that? What's going on? And then she kicks in the case and it's like, yes.
The only thing that I don't like out of that scene is right as she's telling the kids to drive down the road to the Mackenzies or whatever, because it's virtually the same exact line they took from Scream. And I understand it, like I did read the book and I do get it and everything, because there was Scream did so incredibly well. So like, yo, take everything from that fucking movie. We're gonna implement it in this movie, and it kind of worked. It kind of worked. But the movie's amazing. The movie that came out prior to that, Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, I feel like it's good, but it gets a really bad rap because they entered a lot of mysticism into it. I mean, but Paul Rudd's in the fucking thing. That is like something people tend to forget, is that the amazing Paul Rudd's all over that motherfucker.
The immortal Paul Rudd.
The immortal
doesn't age.
Paul Rudd.
God, I know, right? The thing about Halloween 6 is I love Halloween 6, even though I know the story and the screenplay is absolute mindfuck garbage. Like it doesn't make sense. It can't possibly. But the characters are great. The acting is great. The atmosphere and every single thing else about it is great. I love Mitch Ryan as Dr. Wynn. Paul Rudd is great. Marianne Hagen is great. It's all so good. It just doesn't make sense.
No,
If you
no,
get past
Born
it,
Under
it's
the
good.
Thorn. If you see, I see. How old are you, Dustin? By the way, I got to get past that. How old are you?
35.
Dude, so we're the same age, and that's why you and me have the same experiences. I think that the reason that we're so easy to please is because we came up in a time when there was really bad horror movies that were accepted as good at that point. So like by the time that we get into it, they're like, oh, Critters is great. Critters is fucking fanatic. It's fantastic. Have you seen Ghoulies, guys? Ghoulies is so great. And we're like, yeah, it is great. This is amazing. And at the time, there were some of the shittiest movies out there. But because that was like the start of it all, we just come to accept everything. We're like, yeah, that's great. What? Jason's jumping bodies and eating hearts now? Cool. I take it. Fucking why not? You can do whatever he wants. It's Jason Voorhees.
There you go.
Jason's going to go to the top of a building in Manhattan and box a dude? Sure. Why not?
Yeah, why
Let's
not?
do it.
Just so long as there's another videotape on the store shelf when I go back, I'm happy.
Yes. Oh, and we got to go into like such deep sagas. We only got to see a couple rise from when we started, right? There's only a couple that really came out and stick around. Scream, Urban Legends, I Know What You Did Last Summer. Those are the movies that kind of like came out in our heyday, I would say, and they kind of stuck around.
Also.
Yes, Saw is a very valid point.
I remember being really gypped. I felt really gypped. We went, my friends, we decided it came out on Halloween. We decided to skip trick-or-treating because, I don't know why. Trick-or-treating, I love trick-or-treating. I wish I could do it now. I know, right? I'm like, fine, let's go watch this movie. And like the whole gimmick was like this guy cuts off his own leg, and so the whole fucking movie we're just waiting and waiting. We're like, come on, cut your fucking leg off. Like we've already been so desensitized by all the horse shit that we saw as kids. We're like, yeah, this isn't gonna affect us. And like at the very end, you barely see it happen. We're like,
where's all the saws in Saw? It's in the title. I don't see any saws. He threw the one saw in the tub. What the fuck is going on?
It's just so misleading.
That movie's brilliant though. Like let's
I like it. I love it.
Do that first.
If I go back, maybe, yeah.
Oh, dude, go back and watch it. It's one of those movies, kind of like the first Blair Witch. We were talking about it earlier. How the incredible marketing of that film and like how they're able to keep it quiet, and people are going nuts thinking it was real found footage. Apparently, they never saw the Poughkeepsie tapes. They're like, oh shit, fucking found footage. This is real. Like people were like freaking the fuck out, flocking to like.
And what people don't get is with Saw, there's no other horror franchise, to my knowledge, in history that did what Saw did, where every Halloween for like 6 years straight or 7 years, if it's the tagline was, if it's Halloween, it must be Saw. And every year you knew it was like, get your friends together because you're going to get another piece of this crazy ass puzzle. And it was just an experience that's kind of lost. If you binge it now, you don't get that experience. But at the time, it was a lot of fun.
I liked there's a precursor to Saw. There were some really good movies. They only had like 3 of them, maybe 4. They were called Cube. Did you ever see The Cube? Dude,
yeah, those were crazy.
Dude, they're fucking crazy. David, you ever seen Cube?
Never heard of it.
Dude, it's a movie for you. It's cerebral. It's about these people that get kidnapped and put in this government facility underground, and it's a giant Rubik's Cube. And there's traps in certain rooms, and they take like an expert criminal and a mathematician, a dude that's got Asperger's, that's crazy smart, can do astronomical math right off the top of his head. It's brilliant, dude.
They have a Rain Man to get out of the cube.
Kind of. I mean, I don't want to say anything for you not to see it, but dude, you should definitely check out The Cube. It's a little precursor to Saw, I'd imagine, because there's like traps and shit. That's really the correlation between the two. Was there anything closer to Saw than that I'm missing? Because I always put those two together. I'm like The Cube and Saw, like a similar form and fashion.
Home Alone.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at it in a different way, it was basically a horror film.
I remember that meme where it's like Kevin McAllister is Jigsaw all grown up.
Jigsaw, yeah, he grows up.
That's fucking amazing. Okay, so what other franchises, Dustin, really deserve a book? I mean, obviously you covered, a couple of the most amazing. You even covered a ride, for fuck's sake. What in your opinion really could use a book? Every
franchise deserves a book, and I'm working on it one by one.
Excellent. I love it. I love that.
It's a good outlook.
I would like to see one on the American Werewolf movies 1 and 2, because the first one obviously is just the most iconic werewolf movie of all time.
American Werewolf in London, right?
Yeah, and then Paris.
Paris, yeah, okay.
A lot of people hate Paris. I fucking love American Werewolf
Paris
in
was good. I like that one.
I'm
London
such
was.
an
I think I
asshole.
like that one. Yeah.
Well, London's
I think
the best.
there might already be a pretty killer book that just came out recently. On the first one, I feel like.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Damn.
That's right. He did fucking write a book about that.
And that's what sucks is when I would love, and I've brainstormed really hard how to write a Friday the 13th book. I mean, this is a Camp Crystal Lake Cup, but they ruined it with Crystal Lake Memories. Like they killed the very idea of it, and they did such a good job that it's like I hate them and I love them because I have that book. Like, I love it.
They did that documentary as well. It's like 12
to
13 hours or something like that. And
thanks a lot.
Yeah, Shudder, you piece of shit. And they have like a 10-hour long one for Never Sleep Again, which was excellent. Right. I watched the fuck out of that. Once again, man, I love me some Freddy. So like the idea of just watching we had Mick Strawn on last week. He was the
he's cool. Yeah.
Effects
guy for 4.
Yep, he was an effects guy. He was also a set producer or something like that. Set I don't remember. I'm too tired. I've been up for 24 hours now. So yeah. I work night shift.
Mick's cool though.
Mick's a very, very cool dude. Fucking he actually wrote a really interesting book about his work on 3 and 4, and I always praise him for 3. Like I want to break his heart and be like, 3 is fucking amazing and 4 is pretty good. Like the three, like the Nancy saga of it all is really the story, right? Like the rest of it's fine, but like 2, 4, 5, 6, for instance, those aren't particularly amazing movies. But 1, 3, 7, those are the fucking movies.
Yeah, it's so hard because the Elm Street series, I love the franchise, but I can't deny that 1, 2, and 3 is like a roller coaster going up, and then you hit 4. And you're going down, and you crash with 6. Just my opinion. That's Freddy's Dead.
I like Freddy's Dead because it's kind of iconic. It's top comedy, which is really nice because then you get a new Nightmare after that, and it's so gritty and like it's such a different direction that Wes Craven took. To take it into the real world, use footage from that really horrible earthquake that happened in LA at the time, dude. It was fucking crazy. But 6 is fine. Like it's got him pushing like a bed of nails out and having the dude Roseanne Barr and Tom Arnold and shit. It's fucking all in there. 2 kind of weirds me out because like I don't know what message they're trying to send. Like
me neither, but I love it. I love 2.
I like 2 when Freddy finally comes into 2. Like the whole like Jaws lead up to Freddy 2, like where he's like really a big part in like last like 15-20 minutes or something. That's excellent. Like when he's like, "You're all my children now." That's fucking dope. It's all like backlit or like, dude, he's so dark in the face. It's so cool. Right. But like the rest of that movie, you're just like, is he in an S&M club? Is that his fucking PE teacher? What's going on right now? Where's Freddy?
You don't know. But the chest bursting scene is just the stuff of nightmares.
Yes. Oh my
God. It's so good.
Fucking, is there a book about Poltergeist? There's got to be, right? Like that is such a turbulent history of those fucking movies.
I feel like maybe the first one. I've really looked into this. Like I've made a list of franchises and be like, no, I can't do that one. No, someone already did that one. This one's a maybe. Like I think someone did one on the first Poltergeist.
But the other
do a 28 days later one.
28. What the?
I like those. Yeah, I even like the second one.
Yeah, do a book on those 2 and then just spearhead and push for a fucking third movie because I feel, Rob, that I haven't gotten a third one yet.
I feel like actually what you could do is you could probably do, and we're just going to pitch ideas at you now, Dustin.
Yes, but there's the whole time. Interview over. We're pitching.
You could do like the craze of Japanese ghost films in the fucking 2000s.
Yeah.
Like Ring,
holy shit, dude.
The Grudge. Like for some reason we became super fascinated with just robbing Japan again. We're like, oh shit, they have movies. Let's fucking take them.
So would the book be about the originals or would it be about the remakes?
Both. Like why they work so well as originals
and then their transition to America.
So I feel like the answer to that question, I would just have to find like an accountant and interview them, and the accountant would be like, they make money.
Yeah.
There was a lot of yen in those movies.
Thanks a lot, Tom and David. This is the shortest book ever. It's 3 pages long.
Tom and David, fuck you.
I was a really good writer until I met these fucks.
Shit. We're gonna ruin your career. We're sorry. Okay, go back to pitching. Back to pitching. What else we got?
Okay.
Yeah, I know, right? Fucking Leprechaun, right? Leprechaun's it's got such a long tail between those fucking movies, between the amazing of the first one with Jennifer Aniston all the way to fucking Leprechaun in the Hood and Leprechaun in Space. Come on, man. That's fucking
I like Leprechaun, but I feel like I wonder if that fan base would support that book. Like, I wonder if I would even get my return on investment back.
I don't know.
That might be a little too low.
Did you see that last one where like Leprechaun was like not Leprechaun? He was like a gremlin or whatever the fuck. It was like a prequel. Okay, so the WWE, like the Wrestling Federation, they bought the Leprechaun franchise and they put out a fucking Leprechaun. I don't know. They're ambitious and their ambition sometimes outweighs their sanity. So they bought Leprechaun not knowing what the fuck they had. And they essentially made a prequel to all the Leprechaun movies, which is like he doesn't start off looking like Leprechaun. He looks like a different creature entirely. It's very, very baffling. Like I watched it because I love Leprechaun. But I watched this movie and I'm like, what the fuck am I watching right now? Where's Leprechaun? That's not very, very weird. Hold on,
that's not the most recent one. You've got to see the Leprechaun Returns.
Oh,
in 2018.
He returned?
Yeah, made a 2018 movie?
Steve Kostansky, who did Psycho Gorman.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he did one. They didn't get Warwick back, but they got a decent replacement.
They got a guy that sounds a lot like Warwick. Like, yo,
check it out. Yeah, it's a big improvement from the one you're talking about. You're talking about Origins.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That was a weird fucking movie.
Didn't do it for me.
The most obvious, Tremors, right? Tremors.
There is a good book on Tremors called Seeking Perfection, and I know that because I'm friends with the author. It's pretty good.
That I love those films. Those were just I like them a lot because I feel like there's a huge fan base for Tremors, right? Like I know about it. I know about it. David knows about it. But we're a certain
they're called preppers now.
Fucking yes, they are. They're all Bergummers now. They're fucking like that's a sane guy right there. Look at that guy. He knows who we voted.
Bless him for coming back.
Oh, I know, right? He just kept coming back. He was like what the dad from fucking Father Knows Best or what was he?
Family Ties.
Family Ties. Yeah. He's the dad from Family Ties. I tried getting him on the show. Michael Gross passed. But like I really wanted because I love that first one. That first movie is just fucking amazing. I even watched the shitty TV series they put out not too long after that on Sci-Fi. God, do you guys remember when Sci-Fi was good? Like back before it was like SYFY and it was SCI.
I would just binge as much Tales from the Crypt as I could, man. That's it.
Back when they had like Twilight Zone, they were running Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Oh yeah, early Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. I got to be there for that, man.
Oh, dude,
I got to have my MST through K.
They'd have some night gallery every so often. Oh, fuck.
Oh yeah,
dude,
Sci-Fi used to be really good. Shit,
dude, they never gave enough, and of course they had Highlander and fucking Xena and all the other shows that you're just like, dude, why are you still making these? These movies were great, but why are you making that? That's so confusing. Fucking A.
But Tremors is great. I love the Tremors 4 where they go back. It's the prequel, and in the Old West.
That was excellent. That's one of those movies I can definitely get away with going back in the day because they also have like a character building for the Gummer family and perfection. Like he starts off as a cowardly, dandy, and all of a sudden he's gun crazy, and then it ends up being Bert with Reba McEntire, and fucking it's so iconic. Like you stepped in the wrong goddamn rec room and fucking posts his head up on a wall and shit the next week. God damn, that movie's excellent. My God.
I need Reba to come back. Like if Reba can just make like a Jamie Lee Curtis style return to the franchise 30 years later, that would be ultimate.
Well, fucking Kevin Bacon tried. Like he really pushed to have a new one.
How did that not? What idiot didn't greenlight that? Like what? Like bring me the head of that executive.
Right? Kevin Bacon. Like Kevin Bacon. Did you see The Following? Speaking of Kevin Bacon, I thought that was like the last great thing. Dude, The Following was at least that first season.
Outstanding.
Dude, so good.
I wanted to get into that show because I love James Purefoy.
Well, plus you love Edgar Allan Poe, and it's all about Poe. Like that's the entire basis of that show. Is this?
It's actually scary. It's pretty scary.
Yeah, dude, it's wicked scary because it's so plausible. People are such sheep nowadays. I can convince people to do almost anything. Like my favorite thing to do at work is to fuck with people. So like a couple weeks ago, there's this kid that like I told him one day during break, I'm like, stop reacting to when I talk to you because it just entices me to talk to you more and fuck with you. And like I'm very open about it. So for like a week straight, every time I'd walk by this certain part of I work in a big warehouse and there's like exposed piping and shit up top and vents and all sorts of stuff. Every single time I'd look by, I'd stop and I'd look up. I just kind of like, what the fuck? Like, give it a look. And I'd shake my head like something's wrong. And I'd keep on walking. And then I'd go and I'd hide. And then I'd see him go to the area and start looking up, trying to find out what I'm looking at. He'd call other people over and be like, dude, what do you see? And I got other people in on it. I'd be like, dude, fucking be like, yeah, dude, the roof's going to come down any day now. And start walking away and shit. I did it for a fucking month. And that just tells you dude, because one day he comes up, he's like, dude, that roof, right? And I'm like, what? Because I completely forgot all about it.
What the fuck are you talking about?
He's like, dude, the roof. Like, they really need to replace that roof. I was like, no, they don't. I'm fucking with you. And I walked away. And just the look on his face, he's just like, what the fuck? Why? You get paid to do this? I'm like, yes. And I keep walking.
It's funny.
It's fucked up.
Dude, it's so stupid. Fucking what since it is Halloween, Dustin, I gotta ask, man, fucking what recommendations would you be giving out right now? Like let's say like my daughter it was really trying to get into horror movies up until she watched A Quiet Place. Then she hasn't watched a horror movie since A Quiet Place. We're really attached to one another, and she didn't like the fact that John Krasinski was all like, I'm noble and dying now. She did not dig that at all. But I showed her like Child's Play and certain other things. Let's say there's a kid of 12 with some really liberal parents. What movies would you recommend them to watch on this Halloween?
So I have an 11-year-old, and I've shown her like certain like I've shown her one Friday the 13th, Jason Lives, because that's got the least amount of drugs and sex and gore.
Isn't that?
But
I'm sorry to cut you off. Isn't that a weird place to draw a line? Because I tried watching the original with my daughter. I watched A Nightmare on Elm Street, and then I tried putting Friday the 13th on. The problem is that it's essentially a skin flick with stabbing in it. So like every 5 seconds, we watch like 15 minutes long of a movie, and she's like, "What's this movie about?" I'm like, "That, Mom. Just don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it."
I'm sorry,
it's not that she can't. It's not that my 11-year-old can't see some of these things. It's that I don't want to have to see them in the room with her.
Yes,
I'm not ready for that.
So weird.
But
you guys are ready for that uncomfortable conversation. You're like,
why is that bush so big? Well, it was the
80s,
honey. Get in here. She's asking me questions
about Bush. The president? No, I wish.
My recommendations are probably really crappy because I'm going to be like, go watch Son of Frankenstein. And they're going to be like, it's black and white. I hate it. So I don't know.
They will say
think really hard about it, I would say, and find the gateway horror films, like the things that will like draw them in and then go for the deeper dives. Like maybe don't start with Ghoulies 3.
No, but maybe start on Critters though. Critters, I mean, Billy Zane's so young in that fucking movie, which bring it all the way back to Titanic. Right. But I was watching
Critters is good.
Critters is fucking fantastic, but they both are like that same like micro creature type of deal. The same thing with a Puppet Master, like because like Chucky's small, right? But these creatures are like super small, and they have to take a lot to make them like threatening. So when you see like a Ghoulies or a Critters or something, but Critters is fucking gnarly, dude. Like that movie is like balls to the wall, like pretty scary actually, even to this day.
But you can't be like lackadaisical about it and be like, yeah, Critters, and then grab Critters 4, because then you fucked up. You can't. No, you have to build up to that.
But then when they try like hiding the cassette player and stuff, be like, "What's that?" Be like, "Well, that's a cassette player." Oh, right. Well, what do you stream on that? Well, you don't. Fucking. What was on that topic? What was your first cassette, man?
Audio cassette?
Yeah, absolutely.
The Prince soundtrack to Batman. Like I was doing the Bat dance, like no one was watching.
That's fucking hilarious.
That's a good one.
Oh my God.
That's a good one.
What about you guys?
What was your first tape, David?
Dude, I don't think I even got a tape, man. I literally went straight to CDs, and it was honestly it was System of a Down.
Ooh, at least it's a good
Yeah.
one. I know. My mom loved me, and she gave me the Dazed and Confused soundtrack, which really set a pace for the rest of my life. Not only do I love everything of the '70s, but I also love cannabis. So, like, she really kind of planted that flag super early on. It's got
So here you go. Grow up to be a pothead, son.
kind of, but it's got like Leonard Skinner. It's got some of the greatest rock music of the '70s from down south, and it's just top notch, dude. Oh my god, it's so good. My first CD though was Coolio's "Gangsters Paradise," which I'm sure
That's
must
a
have
good
really
one.
thrown my parents through a fucking loop.
Yeah.
Followed by the Backstreet
Like,
Boys and
why is he listening to this? Oh man, they must have been terrified when you were growing up.
I know, right? And I like the Spice Girls quite a bit. Like before, they were like because they fuck you, man. They were hot. They were so hot. Don't even judge me on that. I love Spice World, you dicks. That movie is fucking dope. It's Beatlemania with titties, but it's not the like.
I can only imagine your parents looking at you in fear as you're watching that film.
Like, he's gay. He's so gay.
wrong?
Look at him go.
Yeah.
He is.
We lost him. We lost him.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of Gangsters Paradise, it's so as a parent now, things are so different. Like I have to be really careful when I'm streaming my playlists and my kids are in the room and it'll go to Coolio, and I'm not ready for them to know that part of me that sings Coolio in the car with all the windows down, like no one cares.
Oh, I know, right, dude. But there's certain songs.
You're like, kids, I grew up in the hood. What is the hood, you ask? Well, sit down, I'll tell you.
Yeah, my God. So North Carolina, you guys have just to jump to your state really quick. You guys have a very interesting truck trend. I think we should probably bring up.
Is it though?
Truck?
Whatever you're going to say, is it?
It's not. It's not interesting, but it's so weird. So David, you are from California. Are you familiar with the Baja truck? It's very
Like a
high
food truck?
suspension. No, it's like in this. It's very high suspension in the front, so when you go over the Bajas in the dunes and shit, your car doesn't bottom out and fucking, crash.
Oh, okay, yeah. I've seen some of those around here. Yeah, there's a lot of people who do like off-roading. And
so
shit.
it's always like higher in the front, lower in the back. Now,
it's got a
North
weird
Carolina has really picked up on this, but they don't do it to Baja trucks. They just do it to trucks. Dustin, explain yourself.
I'd like to apologize on behalf of North Carolina. I'm sorry.
The curtain falls back behind him as his truck sitting there.
Dude, there are so many bad truck trends that I didn't know what you were going to say, and I was like, "Is he going to talk about the truck nuts?" Like, I don't want to have to talk about those.
Those are up here, dude. Those are universally stupid. I don't know what asshole decided to put testicles on his truck. My truck's got balls.
Oh, those, yeah.
Someone that had very small ones. That's who came up with that.
Dude, that's at least if they were honest about it, I'd respect it. If I saw like the tiniest set of nuts where I'm like, are those nuts? Oh my god, they're nuts. Hey, all right, buddy.
It's like actual size.
But let's redeem North Carolina. You guys have the greatest food chain restaurant of all time down there, which is Cookout. Cookout is
you guys don't have an In-N-Out. What are you talking about?
No, right. Better than that. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you, David. Cookout, like you can get 2 entrees with a real fucking milkshake for $1 at the end of it all, dude, and get a banana pudding milkshake. Oh fuck yeah.
What year do you live in?
Milkshake is the best. The banana pudding milkshake is the best,
dude.
And there's like 80 flavors. There's like 80 different, literally. Cookout, you know about Cookout? I've got one like a mile from here. I love it, and it's so affordable. I don't know how the prices they keep them where they're at.
Dude, David. So like, how much is the lunch box? It's like what, like $7 or something?
It's $5.99.
Dude, you
get a drink,
another
two sides. It's a huge honking tray of food with a drink or a milkshake. And they'll deep fry anything. I mean, they'll deep fry your milkshake if you want them
to get your whole tray and just deep fry the whole thing.
Yeah,
it's delicious. It's not good for you, but fuck, it's delicious.
Well, I'm just amazed at the price. You guys said $5 can get you a whole goddamn meal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, you're walking away with like, when you get like a to-go tray and it's sagging on one side because it's so heavy with food. It's like that. You got to hold it with 2 hands. Yeah, because it's structurally barely able to hold all the food they're going to give you.
And funnily enough, neither your body's also in the same shape when you leave that place because it's just so affordable. You're like, I can get 2 lunch trays. It's not going to hurt anyone except myself.
No.
So good. Well, me and Dustin were kind of talking because I was telling him my love for North Carolina barbecue sauce. It's a vinegar-based sauce, as I've bragged about before. And it's just everything about North Carolina I love. The Rocky Mountains are some of my favorite stuff. I love the weather. Like people bitch
I
about
thought the Rocky Mountains would be a little bit more rockier than this.
They are rocky as fuck, bro.
That John
But
Denver's
like,
full of
so
shit, man.
we drove Rocky Mountain Way. We drove down to North Carolina. I'm from northern Vermont, so like there's mountains everywhere, there's snow everywhere. Like it's a real Canadian wilderness up in this bitch. So as we go down to South Carolina this year, we drove our car, and we get to a certain point. I'm like, hey kids, what's not around you right now? Because they're all on their devices and shit. I got Wi-Fi in the car, Dustin, because I don't want my kids to talk. So we get down to North Carolina, and I'm like, what's not around right now? And they're like, what? And they start looking around. They're like, I don't know. I'm like, do you see anything that's not in the background? And they're like, no. I'm like, where's the mountains? And they're like, oh. I'm like, yeah, different topography. And then I'm like, they don't care. They're just like, shut up, old man. You're really distracting me from YouTube right now. Who cares about mountains?
We've got mountains. You just have to be over in the western part
West
to get
Coast.
them.
Absolutely.
But I'm so quick to brag about North Carolina's horror history. Like I'm really, really proud of it. Evil Dead 2 was shot in Wadesboro, North Carolina. We claim it.
Whoa.
Evil Dead 2 is ours.
Yeah, but you guys also killed fucking Brandon Lee. So I mean, I don't know what to say about this right now. My dad was born in the same hospital that Brandon Lee died in. Not the same time, mind you. They're very older than one another. But like I read them. Speaking of books about movies, I read The Making of the Crow because when I was like in 6th grade, I saw The Crow. And I was so like goth awesome at that point. I was like, The Crow is so like edgy and it understands the pain of life. And like, if anybody wants to hack my password, it's still The Crow, by the way. Everything's The Crow. But Brandon Lee fucking famously died when they were filming in North Carolina, dude. You did that to me. Why, Dustin? Explain yourself.
Sorry. I'd like to apologize for that too.
Fucking this whole thing's gonna be listen to Dustin say sorry for things that have nothing
Can I tell you? Here's what's horrible. You know what I thought you were going to say? This is how jacked up my brain is. King Kong Lives was shot here,
really?
Where we killed King Kong in the late 70s. So I thought you were going to say we killed King Kong, and you took it to a much darker place.
That's what we do here.
Oh, David, here you go. Fucking something for you. David really loves pirates. Fucking North Carolina, king of pirates, right there, man. Fucking, they were all about the pirates.
That's
Blackbeard.
true.
Blackbeard was born here. We claim him. Edward Teach. He's ours.
Yeah. And then they once again, he's got to apologize again after this. Fucking, then they're like, turn their backs on him. They're like, yo, by the way, so give us some money and some slaves and we'll totally let you in. He's like, all right, cool. Then he does it. And they're like, so I'm totally legit now. And they're like, no, we were fucking with you. you might want to leave. Fucking bastards. So what is in your future, good sir? Like what are you gonna do next? Like, I mean,
what's up?
Obviously, what's
upcoming books? What do we got?
What do we got?
Yeah, so I co-wrote Taking Shape and Taking Shape 2 with a guy named Travis Mullins, who has written for Dread Central and some other places. And we're currently working on some follow-up projects, books. And you know, I'm just the kind of a jerk that I don't like to talk about what I'm working on until it's done, because I can't stand, it's one of my biggest pet peeves when someone's working on like a fan film or a book or something. And they're like, hey, here's the teaser for the trailer of the announcement. And they haven't worked on it. Like, talk is cheap. Like, go work on your thing. Like, don't hype it, go work on it. And so that's why I've got a policy of, I don't want you to know what it is until it's ready to go. And so
stop talking about it, start being about it.
Thank you. And so we're working on definite things that are very similar to what we've worked on previously, and we hope readers will enjoy it similarly.
I know I'm going to continue to read your stuff, man. Like, once again, the amount of like, how long does it take you to write one of these fucking books? Because I feel like
you said you started at. You said you started at your first book was at 2014. We're now in 2021, and you've had 5-6 books. You said so far.
The first bit, Phantasm Exhumed came out in 2014, but it took 5 years for that first book to figure out how to do it. Now I can do about roughly a year, a book per year. Yeah.
What? A fucking book like Shaped only took you a year?
You're like,
that's insane.
This is Stephen King speed.
Are you on track? Are you ready to do on a weekend?
I want to show you this. Taking Shape 2, right? This is the second one. It's 600 pages. It's thick. It's 250,000 words. The audiobook is 21 hours, literally. And Travis and I did this in a year.
Wow.
So like we were pretty overdosed on Halloween by last October. And so when they announced that Halloween Kills was delayed, I personally was like, don't care. I need a year. Don't care. Like I can't, because it was so intense because we wanted to release it. We wanted to get the book out in tandem with Halloween Kills. And it was really intense making that happen.
How long after writing Taking Shape 2 before you could like sit down and watch can you watch a Halloween film now?
I can. It took me no, I'm not kidding. Like because not only did we write a 600-page book in a year, we read over 3,000 pages of screenplays to write that book. I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. I added it up. I did the math. And so, by the time Halloween Kills rolled around last week, I was ready. My soul had gotten enough distraction and stuff.
That's fucking phenomenal. I gotta say, man, like, first of all, I know I've said that a couple times, so I just really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to do this. It's 9:30 at night on the fucking East Coast for us right now. Dustin basically said, I would love to do this interview with you guys, but the fact is, like, I can't do it on Halloween weekend. It's a really busy weekend, which I totally respect. It's a busy weekend for me as well. But I really wanted to squeeze you in just because, obviously I love talking to people whose work I enjoy, and I got like almost 3 days. Okay, so sorry, I keep on stopping myself. My job is kind of boring. All right, I work in a fucking factory. I make helmets for the military. Like, I'm a quality dude, so I get to roam around, do whatever the fuck I want essentially all night. But I listen to audiobooks. That is my sanctuary without me going insane. I do it for my family because I love having a house. I love having my family, make sure we have food and all that happy horse shit that makes life worth living. But the fact is, like, I can't do it alone. I need a pick-me-up throughout. I need some real endorphins pumping through my body, and nothing does that like podcasts and books. And for almost 4 days, I got to sit there and listen to your work, and I enjoyed every single second of it because it was on a genre that I love the most of all, especially this time of the month. It was October last year. It was about some of my favorite horror films of all fucking time, and you really put the care and the patience into making sure that you just throw together some fucking book and slap your name on it. You really stood behind everything, which I gotta say, dude, I salute you for all that shit. So thank you very much, man.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it.
Oh, of course, brother. So obviously we can't hear about the things that you have coming out, but how can people keep track of you so they can keep their eyes open to see what's coming out next when you do the announcements and stuff?
Okay, so all of my books I publish through my own imprint, which is Harker Press. And you can go to harkerpress.com, and that's where I do the announcements, and you can, get the books in Kindle, ebook, Audible, audiobook, and paperback. And, I'm looking at doing some hardcover editions in the future because that's one of the most frequent requests people have gotten. I try and keep the cost down with the paperback because, hardcover starts to get expensive. But, now that the paperbacks are out, I'm looking at doing those. But yeah, harkerpress.com is where I tend to announce stuff. And hopefully this coming year, we'll have a couple announcements.
Excellent, man. I got to say, Dave, do you have any questions for Dustin before we sign off for the night?
Did want to ask, so as you're writing, I know it's try to make it quick, but like, are there any other things that you're writing on, just like in general, like just something that's not like a research or sort of like journalistic, something like that's your own originally created stories, or anything that you're working on just in general like that?
Or do you have any interest in doing something like that?
There.
No and no. I am not that creative.
All right, bye. No, just joking.
It's not J.K. Rowling. He just writes J.K. Rowling sized books is what he does. He just writes books that you throw on the table, be like, you want to know some shit about Halloween? Thud.
Slap.
Like I don't think I'm not that creative, I think, to come up with compelling characters and ideas. And I think that is so hard for authors that do that create their own stories and put them out there, because how you get someone to care enough to buy and or read an original story in 2021, that's harder than I can't even like really get behind. But it's not hard at all to take something people already love, like Halloween, and write a book on it and get them to want to read it. That's an easy thing to market. Now, the hard part is trying to make them satisfied afterwards, because Halloween is so incredibly thoroughly researched already. To come up with anything new, even small, is that's the challenge. And we were able to do that in several places. And so,
wow,
I'm that's what I'm most interested in, is the research and the over analysis of these movies.
Let's leave off on a positive note. Dustin, what advice would you give to young, inspiring writers?
Just write every single day. Just do it. Don't talk about it. Don't think about it. Don't put it off. Make time and write. Just do it. It's like Nike, right? Just do it, and eventually you'll have something.
Yeah, all right. I fucking love it.
Sounds good.
Guys, this has been fantastic. Dustin, we're gonna end the show now, but stick around for a couple seconds afterwards if you don't mind.
Okay.
This will bring a close to our USUK What's the Difference spooktacular special. We really hope you guys have a happy and safe Halloween. This has been What's the Difference podcast. I am Tom Bruno.
I'm David Raby.
Go ahead, Dustin. You say your name too.
Yeah, you're
I'm
part of this too.
Dustin McNeill.
And we fucking love you. Happy Halloween, guys.
Hi, this is Ickis from Our Real Monsters. And I would like very much to ask you, if you don't mind, to watch the USUK Network with Tom, Bruno, and Alex. Wait. Oh, that's all. I have to go flush myself now.